like it's 9:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining our breakout session today. We are honored to have our distinguished panelists this morning. We have Dr. Smith. We have Dr. Frenzel, I hope I said your last name right, and Professor Lyneman and Dr. Tackett today. And just to give you a brief overview before we start in with our panel, the CARES project was funded by CARES money through the state. They awarded each institution a pot of money to put towards instructional design and instructional design services. So our panelists today took part in the instructional design course redesign. And today I'm just going to have a few questions that will prompt them. And I'm going to start out with a question for everybody. Dr. Smith, I'll start with you, and then Dr. Frenzel and Professor Lyneman, you can jump in at any time. But the first question I wanted to ask is, what was it that prompted you to accept participating in the HighFlex course redesign project?
Oh, good morning, everyone. It was just a really nice opportunity for an outside person to take a look at my class, or classes. What I wanted to do was to come up with a system whereby I could have efficiencies transferring my Blackboard class from one semester to the next semester. It seems that over the years in trying to do that, I get so much content that I need to go in and delete that I had hoped to start with a building block kind of area where I could just have something that I would be able to import and kind of increase those efficiencies from semester to semester. So it's really nice to have an outside person take a look and look at what efficiencies they saw I could bring into my class.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeanne Frenzel. I'm a professor in the School of Pharmacy, and I teach in a 4-course series of pharmacy practice laboratories. So kind of the impetus for participating in the program was twofold. Our first-year students have one of those laboratories. Our second have a second laboratory, and then our third-year students have a 2-semester series of laboratories. And within those laboratories, 2 of them are always running simultaneously, and we have up to 7 faculty, sometimes some pharmacy students on an academic rotation, and 85 students. So that takes a lot of organization. So the biggest part was just making sure that, I feel that a transparent, very explicit and organized course certainly provides a better foundation for success for our students. So I wanted to be sure that within that course series, we were kind of creating a nice streamlined content for the students to follow. And then, of course, with the pandemic, I needed to reduce my laboratory sizes to allow for social distancing, which meant I had to digitize a lot of my hands-on stations that normally they would do in person in the laboratory. And now I was putting them online in kind of a quirky assignment or a test or a survey, and it all worked really well. But that meant the students were spending more time in the course online than they had ever had in the past. And so because of this, I really wanted to focus my attention on community building within my student cohorts and all within the learning management system. And HighFlex specifically, that really came into play when the lecture. So they have a 50-minute lecture each Monday. Students could be in person, online, or watch a recording. And then they all had to attend the laboratory in person. So that Blackboard redesign was certainly instrumental in keeping those new pandemic necessitated laboratories, that online portion, super organized. And so we were pretty successful with that.
Good morning. I'm a professor at the School of Bismarck School of Nursing here in Bismarck. I actually work public health, and our course is actually a 10-week course. And so the motivation that I had was students aren't in very long to organize themselves in a Blackboard situation in 10 weeks. And what I found over the years is many students spent some time, like 2 to 3 weeks, just trying to navigate each different instructor's course, and it caused frustrations and delays in assignments being completed. And so we just added in a 10-week course that is a pretty tight turnaround for you to finish a course. And so the motivation was really just to allow for students to have a very easily accessible, organized Blackboard, and really, like Dr. Smith said, finding those inefficiencies for me and for my students, how many places they have to go to navigate one assignment, or was it confusing because I had it in too many places or not enough places. And so the Blackboard really helped me understand what they consider and what they had called best practice of that, of the use of their learning management system, their Blackboard.
Dr. Tackett, did you want to jump in and let us know what prompted you to participate in the course redesign?
Sure. My name is Lydia Tackett. I'm in the geosciences department at NDSU. I was teaching a class this semester, invertebrate paleontology, which has always been a really specimen-heavy course. And I reached out to apply for the redesign project, mostly because I was really overwhelmed with the amount of reconfiguring everything I had for that class needed to be changed. And we always do a lot of different projects, in-class labs, research projects, presentations, a lot of active learning type of things. So I met with the HighFlex group, with the redesign group, with hoping that they'd help me kind of get everything organized so that I could actually focus on, they would help me streamline which activities I could dedicate the most time to, and figure out what stuff I could just get out of the way first. And so it really helped me. I would say that a lot of folks here are probably super organized. I would generously call myself moderately organized. And so it really helped me figure out what I needed to focus my time on before the semester started.
That's great. Thank you. And just to clarify for the participants, the vendor that we actually ended up going with was Blackboard. So even though Blackboard is our LMS, Blackboard, the company, does more than just the LMS. So our panelists did work with Blackboard's instructional design team. So when you hear that, just to clarify that. So the next question, and I'll leave this open for the entire panel, is during the ID session, so the instructional design meetings when you met with Nicole, did you learn anything new? If so, have you implemented what you've learned in your courses?
I can start with a really simple one, and maybe someone or maybe everyone already uses this, but within course content, which is where I would organize the course for students, I would tend to set up content folders. And so I'd have folder upon folder. And just the simple thing is there's a selection called learning module. And so just a simple thing I just had overlooked for lots of years was setting up a learning module and then titling those in blocks, module 1, 2, 3, or week 1, 2, 3. And really just a simplistic thing that helped keep students organized. And kind of going to something that Jessica said, I hadn't realized it until I had one of my very, top performing students say, maybe week 3 of a semester, she said, it takes me so long just to figure out how every instructor sets things up on Blackboard. I always thought, well, mine are really organized. Why are you missing these assignments? How, it's so clearly laid out. And she said, yeah, I get it, but you ask it this way and someone else asks it this way and someone else asks it another way. And that was pretty eye-opening because she was kind of expressing frustration with the expectations that come up at the beginning from so many instructors who do things so differently. One thing that I implemented as a result of this redesign that's less Blackboard and more just the way I teach the classes is I have very little in terms of points they can earn or points that they can miss within the first few weeks. And so maybe it's just a 3-point thing or a 5-point thing. And if they miss it, they miss it and it is gone, but at least it's not a deal breaker. And that just gives them an opportunity to get their feet under them. So just something sort of small, but I think really is beneficial for students.
What a great strategy.
And I would add on to that in that the modules, I also started using modules, which are absolutely fantastic. And what I learned new was within the modules using headings to help guide the student. And those headings were standardized and used week to week in each of the different modules. So a good example would be as they enter the module, they'd see an overview. This week you will attend lecture, complete readings. And then they would have a readings heading, which would list all of the different expectations for readings, followed by a materials heading. And so again, it's such a simple thing, but I really think that having almost a template, it really helps students understand or recognize what to expect week to week. And I'm in a similar situation where I have multiple faculty in each of these courses, and all of us we tried very hard to keep things looking the same, but inevitably we were always posting stuff different in different spots. And so another thing we had mentioned a little bit earlier is reducing the number of clicks. And so just making sure that the students, we worked really hard on that. They only had to go one spot to find the assignment, or if it was very important, maybe we listed it in 2 spots, but just that easy navigation and organization and helping it to become much more intuitive certainly was a big plus from working with that Blackboard designer.
I would add only that those are all really good points, and I definitely will plan on continuing using those template options on the front end of the course. But there were also some accessibility options that I wasn't aware of that I think I did some, for each week, picked like a really beautiful picture of like something like a fossil or something like that. And they showed me how to use the kind of descriptions option, so I could make some descriptions for images so that they were a little bit more accessible. And that's definitely a goal of mine as we kind of move out of the kind of COVID framework, but retaining some aspects of HighFlex. I'm hoping that what we can get out of this whole kind of episode is that we can increase accessibility in our classes. So I didn't realize that was an option on Blackboard, so I appreciated that.
I agree. Accessibility of all your content folders or modules was key in our class. The one thing that I found interesting, and I'm not sure why I did this, I think I just really didn't think it through when I first made my Blackboard, is I just reduced the amount of places on the main side menu that a student could go to. And that kind of helped simplified it. And I then, putting in the course content into modules really helped to direct the student right to the week that we are in. So I separate my course by weeks because we only have a 10-week course, so not by content or subjects. And the students really appreciated the one click into the entire week's description of what they need to get done. And so that, I think after the first week, after we went through it, eased a little bit of the anxieties because they knew each week what they were going to be expecting.
Great, thank you guys. We have about 15 minutes. I am going to ask this last question and then we'll leave some time for our participants to ask questions. What were yours and your students' reactions to the course design? What worked well, and what will you change in the future? And we'll just go round robin again. So Dr. Smith, I'll go ahead and start that with you.
So what I will keep is the organizational structure. I think students really can appreciate and fall back on that. For me, what worked was in the syllabus, at the very end of the syllabus, I have a course schedule. And this semester, I even color coded it for items that are due. So if something was due, it was highlighted. And then I carried that same highlight to the overview on Blackboard. So if they opened it and if they were pressed for time, they at least knew what they had to do before a deadline and what they would have to, go back. So those organizational pieces, I think students really appreciate. What I had hoped I would do was so you have every course, and then the next semester you can import that whole course. In the Blackboard redesign, they gave the option of starting with the template And so then you have a template, and then every semester you carry from that template. What I hope to do was to have that template ready so I would import the template to the next semester. What I didn't do well was to remember to go back and change the template, because even though with the course redesign, we had to think through the entire semester more so than I usually would, more specifically. I change content every week. And so if you change the slide on this, this voiceover PowerPoint, then you had to remember to go back and change it on the template. And I did that for about 3 weeks and then dropped the ball. And so my template's no good right now. I would have to go, so I'll have to start and just continue using semester by semester. So I like the idea of a template that you always use and you can import that, but I did not do a good job of keeping my template up to date with the changes I made throughout the semester.
Well, I would say that anecdotally, the students really liked the course design, and this was certainly evidenced by the other faculty I co-teach with. I was seeing kind of similar design elements showing up in their own Blackboard courses. So they were hearing the students talking about it and recognizing how easy it was for them to navigate the course. And so they were replicating that even mid-semester in their own Blackboard shells. So I thought that was really excellent. We've been doing these courses for a very, very long time. And in past iterations of the course, like we've kind of already mentioned, we had lots of complaints from students about the difficulty in finding things. Students were formatting things different. They couldn't even find announcements because they just continued to pile on top of each announcement. And so I think just what worked well is just the navigation piece. It certainly reduced questions from students about the expectations for the course. It's helping us connect all 4 of our laboratory courses and streamlining that information. It's very intuitive. So I certainly will be keeping all of the design elements and just refining them as we move forward, maybe modifying some of those headings, remembering to keep my clicks reduced. And I think it was just a really fantastic project to be a part of.
I would say I don't totally know what my students didn't talk about the Blackboard that much during the course of the semester. We didn't have that much face-to-face time during the semester, but we did have a couple of class meetings, like less than 5, I think. And the students seem to be in high spirits. So I think it's a complicated class with lots of different components to it. So I think that not hearing complaints about it, I think is a win this semester. We implemented a bunch of other stuff too, like non-Blackboard things related things as well. So there's so much going on. I can't totally say, what, but I am planning on it made me happier while I was teaching it to use the template. I'm going to use that again. And I was able to kind of clearly see what things I wanted to kind of tweak a little bit for next semester. So I think the students did like it. I think they appreciated it all being in one place.
I think that I spent about 20 minutes in the second week of class just asking what I could change, what didn't work for them, how did Blackboard go? Since we are high flex, I did have some students at home. Most of them were in class, and so a lot of them had assistance from me or their fellow students to navigate. I just did a quick check-in, and I only had 2 suggestions where the assignments in the modules weren't visible enough for them, and then some difficulty navigating some group discussions. And so that's something I'm going to work on this summer, is trying to figure out how I can make that a little bit easier. But overall, they liked the predictable organization that came every week from the modules. So I plan on keeping everything with some adjustments to some of the assignments and some of the group work for myself, but then also reminding myself that, for any changes that I make, I have to go back into that Blackboard ID to stay on top of it, because I also fell behind quickly in a 10-week course. So I'll be spending some time making that easier for myself when I want to start my next class.
Great. We did have some questions about showing a course so they could see what that looks like. Dr. Smith, do you mind screen sharing and just showing what that learning module is briefly? Thank you.
Okay, so there's nothing really earth-shattering about it. As part of the process, we did learn that it's best practice to keep this information on the left pretty simplified. And so the course I'm showing you is a completely online course. It's not a HighFlex course, but it's just really separated into a few big links. And I'll show you my course content in a moment. But they could enter my Zoom for office hours and question and answer and so forth. So everything that they really needed to know, they could navigate just with this page and then through course content. So when we're talking about organizing by course content, what I chose to do was week by week. And then I should have actually done module by module, because when I teach this course in the summer, you do basically 4 weeks within 1 week. So those efficiencies, like if I had done module 1 and so forth, I could have saved myself some edits pulling this into the summer class. But when I'm talking about modules under this build content, I typically would have done a content folder and just added things to the folder. But what I'm talking about now is using something called this learning module. So if you select learning module, then each of these are set up as a learning module. And I'll choose, for example, tort law. And so what the student will see when they log in is this module. Oh, that didn't work well. And they can pop through and see the table of contents now, and everything that's going to be done this week, I have listed here. This is what they will do. This is the overview. And when I mention my color coding, these are the graded items. So if they were running behind on something, at least they knew to go and pull those in. So then you can, within this learning module, then you can build content by item and file and so forth, as I was accustomed to doing. So they would know to do their reading. I did a voiceover PowerPoint for this chapter, linked them here to the discussion board. And maybe that's another thing to say, is just adding whatever they need to do this week. I added a link to it. So within this module, you can link them within the course. So they don't have to go to the course chat and discussion board. They can get to it just because I have added a link to it. So every single thing that they have to do, all the way through to the scenarios that they have to upload, is added right here within this learning module.
Great. Thank you very much. I think Nicole, when she worked with you guys, she had you guys create like a master course is what you guys are calling the template, right? So that's what you guys worked in. You created it, and that's what you guys will copy into Blackboard throughout the semester, correct? Yeah. Okay. We did have a question. Is the color coding accessible? Did Blackboard talk about that?
I think the color, are you talking about this color coding?
Yeah, I think that's what they're referring to.
Okay, so that was just something, as I was working with the design professional, was trying to keep things very organized for students. So that was just an idea that I had. And when I draft my course schedule that's at the end of the syllabus, all of this is listed, and then all my quizzes are highlighted in blue. All my scenarios, for example, are highlighted in yellow. Exams are a different color. So then they can see how many points are here and there. That's really more so just a change that I made to my class because of trying to make it more organized for students and have it look more accessible to students. Did I answer that okay?
Yeah, I think you did. And if you are worried about somebody who might be colorblind or something, you could go in and bold the text or highlight or underline it. That would be another way. Lisa asked a really good question. Are there still opportunities to do redesign, or was this available through CARES? We do offer instructional design services through the lake. So you could fill out a course, the instructional design consultation, and our team would work with you. But the working with the Blackboard and the instructional design, that was a one-time process through the CARES. But if you are looking to do a course redesign, our instructional design team would be happy to work with you, Lisa. So great question. Any other question? We have about 5 minutes. If anybody would like to pop a question in the chat or unmute.
Yes, I have a question. This is Jerry. Sure, by the way, thank you for your help for the Blackboard the other day.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This question is still follow up with the Andrea's explanation on tablet versus PowerPoint. Andrea, you mentioned whenever you have a change on PowerPoint slide, you have to remodify the template. And I was wondering when you talk about why is that? Why you need to change the PowerPoint and you need to change the tablet?
So let me, thanks for the question. Let me clarify. So when we worked with the redesign team, they were encouraging us to start with a template that is a completely separate Blackboard class from my actual class. So the template is something that was envisioned to be something that we had as a master. And then every semester we would draw from the master instead of from the previous semester. So when I'm calling it the template, it's a Blackboard class, but it's not the actual class that the students would see. And so what I'm saying is we have that template to work from, and instead of when I was in my actual class, and if I changed my lecture for whatever, chapter I was on, what I needed to do in order to work from the template is move the changes also back to the template. So I might be just.
Yeah, I think I got what happened. But my question was why there's no instant sync between a tablet with each semester course you use. Why we have to copy over and over again and again? That's my question.
Because she's using that template, what she's calling as the master course. So that is just for her to use, and it's not going to automatically sync with her live course. So if she's teaching a communication course in the summer, it's not going to automatically sync because she doesn't want it to. She's going to use it and copy and pull the pieces into that new course. So the master is the only one that she sees and is working with, and it allows her to pull whatever she needs for that next course. So then she's only working and pulling with one master course rather than the live section that the students are enrolled in. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I'm just feel sorry for Andrea to have to spend time to dig out why the change. I need to copy again. So really, I'm interested for Blackboard technician team to build technology you can sync from master template to each live course. No matter which course you use, this template part always automatically sync. So otherwise, like as Andrea said, the instructor could make a mistake during the semester, forget to update. That's my interest, not really a question for Andrea.
And I actually think, Jerry, what I will do is I will abandon the template because to me, it will be easier. Now, I'm speaking only for myself. It'll be easier to copy from my previous semester where I know I have all the changes and delete things like announcements and whatever, than it will be to go and check every slide, every slide of every presentation. So I think, well, the template was really excellent for thinking through what my first class would be after this redesign. I don't think I'll need it. Because of that, I don't think I'll remember to do it. And I changed things that day, and you just don't remember.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah, thank you both.
We have about 1 minute before everybody gets pulled back to that main room. I want to thank the panelists today for taking the time to have this great discussion with us. And also thank you for being a part of the CARES project. It happened really quickly in the fall, and we appreciate your guys' time and talent and your expertise. So thank you very much. And please reach out to the LAIC in Odell if you guys have any questions, and we'll see you in another breakout room here in about another 10 minutes.